Get out. You don't belong here. Kyle Turner's voice cut through Harper's diner like a gunshot. His fist slammed into the table so hard the salt shaker rattled. Then he stepped forward, chest out, towering over the 72-year-old man in the blue cardigan. Henry Collins did not flinch. He stood calm, hands folded across his chest, eyes steady on the younger man. The left side of his cheek was already red from the slap everyone in the diner had just heard. The sound still echoed in the room. Coffee cups sat frozen midair. Forks hovered above plates. Conversations had stopped mid-sentence. The Tuesday morning clatter of Riverton's favorite diner had been replaced by silence, so deep it seemed no one dare breathe. Kyle sneered, lips curled. You hear me, old man? You don't belong here. Henry's gaze was level. His American flag pin caught the overhead light. His voice was quiet, but every word carried. I've earned the right to sit anywhere in this country. A murmur ran through the booths. Two farmhands by the window looked at each other, but said nothing. A mother with two kids pulled them close, afraid to move. At the counter, waitress Elena Ramirez had her phone up, recording. Her hands trembled, but she didn't lower the camera. Kyle saw it. Put that down, Elena. Unless you want to be out of a job. She didn't. She zoomed in instead. From outside the big front window, Mark Dawson's camera was already rolling. He'd come to document small-town life. He had no idea he was filming the moment Riverton would explode in national headlines. Henry shifted his stance, slow and deliberate, the kind of movement drilled into soldiers decades ago. His back stayed straight, shoulders squared, eyes on his aggressor. He didn't raise his hands. He didn't fight back. He just stood there, steady as a wall. You think this is your place? Kyle spat. His voice rose, feeding off the attention. You think you can just walk in like you own it? Folks like you. Enough. Chief Anthony Vega, seated 2 booths away, half rose. He was in uniform, coffee still steaming in front of him. His voice was sharp, but Kyle didn't turn. He had chosen his stage, his audience. Henry spoke again, calm and measured. You're making a mistake, son. The words landed heavier than the slap had. Kyle's jaw tightened. He stepped closer, face inches from Henry's. What are you going to do about it, Grandpa? Call your mommy. Henry reached into his pocket. A collective gasp rippled through the diner. Kyle's fist clenched, expecting a weapon. Instead, Henry pulled out a phone. The black screen lit up. One press. One name at the top of his contact list. David Collins, Director, Department of Homeland Security. Henry's finger didn't shake. He pressed call. The speaker was on. The diner went dead silent. 1 ring. 2 rings. Then a voice filled the room, strong and controlled. Dad? Everything all right? Every person in Harper's diner heard it. Every phone recording captured it. Kyle froze, color draining from his face. Henry didn't look away from him. David, I'm fine. But there's been an incident. Chairs scraped. People shifted, whispering. Elena's phone live-streamed the moment. Comments began to flood in. OMG, is that the DHS guy's dad? This is insane. Screenshot everything. On the line, David's tone sharpened. Are you hurt? Where are you? I can have agents there in 20 minutes. Kyle's mouth opened, but no words came. The blood drained from his face. He had gone from swaggering bully to cornered animal in seconds. His gold watch ticked loud in his ears. Henry's cheek still burned red. He didn't raise his voice. A man named Kyle Turner assaulted me. At Harper's diner. It's all been recorded. Elena lowered her phone just long enough to meet Kyle's eyes. Oh, you're finished. Mark Dawson outside zoomed tight, catching the exact second realization hit Kyle Turner. The smirk evaporated. His lips parted in a silent, oh, as the weight of what he'd done slammed into him. Inside the phone, David's voice carried authority that brooked no doubt. Dad, I'm dispatching a protective detail. Local law will take statements. This is a civil rights violation. Stay put. Henry clicked the speaker louder. You hear that, son? He said quietly to Kyle. You didn't just slap an old man. You slapped a veteran. And you slapped the father of someone who protects this nation. The silence in Harper's diner was absolute. No one looked away. No one could. Every eye in Riverton was locked on Kyle Turner, the construction foreman who thought he owned the place. He had picked his target. He thought Henry Collins was just an old man counting quarters. He thought no one would stand up. He thought wrong. The front door banged open. A tall man in a blue suit stepped inside, scanning the room with the precision of law enforcement. His eyes locked on Henry, then swept to Kyle. Kyle stumbled backward, hands half raised. This was just a misunderstanding, he stammered. No harm done, right? Henry's voice was flat. The harm was done when you thought I was powerless. The cameras didn't miss a word. By the time Sheriff Linda Cooper pushed through the glass doors of Harper's Diner, the air inside was already poisoned. Half the town was still frozen in their seats. Phones up, eyes wide, silence heavy. The slap and the call to David Collins had rewired the morning. Nothing felt normal. Kyle Turner sat in the corner booth now, pale, sweating through his black leather jacket. His earlier swagger was gone. He muttered under his breath, trying to explain to anyone who would listen. No one did. Henry Collins hadn't moved from where he stood. His cheeks still bore the red mark, but his back was straight. His phone lay on the table, still connected, David Collins's voice faint on the line. Sheriff Cooper's eyes swept the room fast. She saw the phones, the cameras, the scattered coffee, the blood on Henry's cheek. She saw Kyle shrinking into himself. She saw Chief Anthony Vega already standing near the counter, arms crossed, jaw clenched. "Morning," she said flat, no warmth in her tone. "Somebody want to tell me what the hell happened here?" Elena Ramirez spoke first, phone still in her hand. "Sheriff, Kyle Turner assaulted Mr. Collins. I've got it all on video." "Video?" Cooper's jaw tightened. "Multiple angles," Chief Vega added. "Diner camera, live streams, kid outside with a camcorder." He pointed toward the window where Mark Dawson stood with his tripod. Linda Cooper exhaled slowly. She knew what that meant. This wasn't going away. Not when the Collins name had already been spoken on speakerphone. Not when a DHS director had just promised agents in 20 minutes. She turned to Henry. "You pressing charges, Mr. Collins?" Henry's voice was calm, steady. "I want it documented. I want it handled by the law. I'll try to stand." "It's a misunderstanding," he said quickly. "I didn't mean any harm. Just words, that's all. Words don't leave marks." Vega cut in, voice sharp. Cooper raised a hand. "Sit down, Kyle." Kyle sank back into the booth. His eyes darted to the sheriff, pleading. "You know me, Linda. You know I'm no racist." She ignored him. Her gaze stayed on Henry. "Sir, let's step outside. EMTs are already en route. Standard procedure." Henry shook his head. "I don't need a doctor. I need a record." Phones kept rolling. Livestream comments were exploding. "He's DHS family. This is going federal. That guy's done for. Share this everywhere." Linda Cooper adjusted her belt, eyes flicking to Elena's phone. She didn't like this. Too many witnesses. Too much footage. She preferred disputes she could bury with a quiet warning, a handshake, maybe a fine. This one had already escaped her control. Behind her, the door opened again. Two deputies stepped in, hands on their belts. "Sheriff." She nodded toward Kyle. "Take his statement. Don't cuff him." "Not yet." That "not yet" hung heavy. Elena raised her phone higher. "Sheriff, with all due respect, you saw the footage. He hit him. You'd cuff anyone else for less." Cooper's jaw flexed. "I said not yet." Chief Vega stepped forward. "If you go soft on this, Linda, half the town's going to know you're protecting him." That made Kyle sit up straight. "Protecting me? I don't need protecting. I didn't do anything wrong." "No," Henry said quietly. "You did everything wrong." The silence that followed was louder than any shouting. From outside, Mark Dawson's voice carried. "The video's already online. It's blowing up." Dozens of heads turned toward the window. Notifications buzzed. Screens lit up. The hashtag Harper Diner was already trending locally. Sheriff Cooper muttered under her breath. "God damn it." David Collins's voice came faintly from Henry's phone again. "Dad, has local law arrived?" Henry answered calmly, still staring at Kyle. "Yes. Sheriff's here. Witnesses too." "Good," David said. His voice was sharp enough that even Cooper stiffened. "My office will need copies of all recordings. This will go through federal channels." Phones caught every word. Cooper turned slowly toward the crowd. "Everyone who recorded something, save it. Don't delete. Deputies will take contact info." "Understood." Heads nodded. Not one phone lowered. Kyle swallowed hard. This is insane. I didn't know who he was. Henry's eyes never blinked. And that's why you thought you could hit me. The weight of the words filled the diner. Nobody argued. Outside, sirens wailed closer. EMTs and black SUVs at the same time. Riverton had just lost control of its story. By noon, the diner was empty, but Harper still buzzed on 1,000 screens. What happened that morning had already escaped Riverton. Phones kept vibrating with notifications. Hashtags Harper Diner and hashtag Justice for Henry spiked across the state. Clips from Elena's live stream circulated with captions. 72-year-old veteran slapped by racist thug. Son is Homeland Security Director. Mark Dawson's raw footage hit YouTube at 10:15 a.m. It passed 20,000 views before lunchtime. By 1 o'clock, it was past 80,000. Comment sections swarmed. Federal prison incoming. Kyle Turner about to regret life choices. Share before it disappears. Inside Riverton, the town started to fracture. At Miller's feed store, 2 farmers leaned against a truck bed, scrolling their phones. Damn shame, one muttered. Nobody deserves that. Henry's a vet. The other shifted his cap. Yeah, but Turner's crew built half the new homes here. Folks depend on his work. You want the town dragged through the mud. At the Riverton Bank, whispers flew between tellers. Some wanted to post public support for Henry Collins. Others warned that Mayor Hale had already called the Chamber of Commerce asking businesses to stay neutral. Neutral meant silence. By mid-afternoon, 2 camps were solidifying. Team Justice, Henry supporters. Elena Ramirez, still live-streaming updates. Chief Vega, openly critical of Sheriff Cooper's hesitation. Students reposting Mark's footage. Veterans groups amplifying the story. Team Deflection, Turner's allies. Business owners tied to his contracts. A city council member who claimed outside agitators were twisting things. Sheriff Cooper herself, careful with every word, already talking about context in private calls. At City Hall, Mayor Richard Hale held a closed-door meeting with his advisors. His wife Helen sat quietly in the corner, listening. Hale paced. Tourism season's weeks away. We cannot have Riverton smeared as some racist backwater. Patricia says she can manage it. Manage? 1-8 asked. The DHS director is involved. There's no managing this. Then we bury it, Hale snapped. It's a misunderstanding. We issue a joint statement. Helen Hale's voice cut through the room. You can't bury what's already viral. The mayor glared. Stay out of this. Meanwhile, at the Unity Church basement, Elena Ramirez set up folding chairs. She'd called a meeting. 20 people showed up, students, shopkeepers, 2 retired vets, Chief Vega in uniform. She streamed live again. Silence helps bullies, she told the camera. I stayed silent too long. Not anymore. Henry Collins deserves justice. Her feed drew hundreds of viewers within minutes. Comments lit the screen. We stand with Henry. Riverton must be held accountable. At the Turner construction office, Kyle sat with his lawyer. His hands shook as he scrolled. Every headline was worse than the last. Racist assault in small-town diner. Victim is father of Homeland Security chief. His lawyer hissed. Don't say a word. No interviews. No posts. We'll issue a written statement calling it a misunderstanding. Kyle buried his face in his hands. They're making me a villain. Everyone knows me here. The lawyer's voice was flat. Everyone knew you here. That's different. Back at Harper's, the booth sat empty except for the hum of the security system uploading footage to the cloud. Files synced quietly, invisible, waiting for federal eyes. By evening, news vans rolled into Riverton. Regional anchors rehearsed lines on the sidewalk. What began as a Tuesday breakfast confrontation now threatens to shake the highest levels of government. Sheriff Linda Cooper stood in her office, blinds drawn, phone pressed to her ear. Richard, I'm telling you, we can't control this. Too many cameras. Too much noise. The mayor's voice snapped back. Then spin it. Say it's 2 men with tempers. Nothing racial. Say Henry isn't pressing charges. He is pressing, Cooper muttered. She rubbed her temples. And Elena's video has 300,000 views. Federal investigators are inbound. This won't vanish. At the Collins house, Henry sat at his kitchen table, untouched coffee cooling beside him. His cheek was swollen, but his eyes were sharp. He replayed the diner in his mind. The slap, the silence, his son's voice echoing through the phone. David called again. "Dad, the Attorney General's office just contacted me. Civil Rights Division is watching this. It's not just about you anymore." Henry answered softly. "It was never just about me." Outside, Riverton streets looked the same. Same church steeple, same hardware store, same diner sign glowing in neon. But everyone knew something had cracked. Lines had been drawn. Team Justice wanted accountability. Team Deflection wanted silence. And neither side was backing down. By nightfall, the town of Riverton wasn't just a town anymore. It was a battlefield. By Wednesday morning, Riverton was on every news channel. The footage had run nonstop. Henry Collins taking the slap, his phone call to David Collins, the diner silence. Clips played side by side with his military portrait from decades earlier. Anchors repeated one phrase: civil rights violation. At 9 a.m., a black sedan pulled up in front of Riverton's courthouse. Dr. Laura Bennett stepped out, leather briefcase in hand. She was tall, mid-40s, hair tied back, every movement deliberate. She wasn't here to smooth things over. She was here to prepare for war. Sheriff Linda Cooper met her at the steps. "Morning. You're civil rights attorney for Mr. Collins," Bennett cut in. "I represent him now, and every witness who chooses to stand with him." Cooper's jaw tightened. "This is a small-town matter. We can handle it." Bennett's eyes were cold. "You couldn't handle keeping an old man safe at breakfast. You don't get to decide jurisdiction. The Department of Justice will decide." Inside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Elena Ramirez, holding her phone, pushed through the crowd with Chief Vega beside her. "Dr. Bennett, are you here for Henry?" she asked, camera live. "Yes," Bennett said firmly. "And let me be clear. This was not a misunderstanding. This was a racially motivated assault on a decorated veteran, and it will be prosecuted as such." The live stream exploded. Comments scrolled. "Finally someone serious. Civil rights lawyer on scene." Kyle Turner finished. Across town, Kyle sat at his lawyer's office. The blinds were drawn. His lawyer slammed the newspaper on the desk. "Federal attorney, may join case." "This is out of control," Kyle muttered. "It wasn't supposed to be like this." His lawyer snapped. "Of course it wasn't. You picked the wrong man to shove. You thought Henry was powerless. Now he has the most powerful son in the country backing him, and an A-list civil rights attorney." Kyle buried his face in his hands. His phone buzzed with threats, messages, and hate. Even his allies were backing away. One contractor texted, "Don't contact me. Too hot." Meanwhile, Henry Collins sat in his living room with Dr. Bennett. Papers were spread across the coffee table. She took notes quickly, her tone sharp. "Walk me through everything from the moment you enter Harper's," she said. Henry spoke with military precision. 7:30 a.m. coffee. Toast. Exact change. 7:45, Turner approached. Slurs. Shove. Slap. Bennett nodded. "Perfect. Simple. Clear. We got timestamps from diner cameras and 3 live recordings. They can spin nothing. This isn't he said, he said. This is video evidence." Henry sipped water, his cheeks still swollen. "What happens next?" "What happens next," Bennett said, "is we file federal civil rights charges. Assault with racial motivation. Intimidation. Violation under Title 18, Section 245. Elena Ramirez leaned forward, phone still streaming. "Does that mean prison?" Bennett glanced at her. "If convicted, yes. And not just for Turner. Any official who helped cover, delay, or dismiss incidents like this. If we find a pattern, this doesn't stop at one man." Chief Vega crossed his arms. "There's a pattern. I've seen it for months." Bennett's eyes narrowed. "Then I want every file you have. Every complaint. Every report you filed that went nowhere." Vega hesitated, then nodded. "You'll have them tonight." By afternoon, the pressure reached Sheriff Cooper's desk. Federal investigators called. They were reviewing circumstances. That phrase meant the wheels were already turning. Cooper sat back, staring at the wall. If the feds dug into Riverton's record, they wouldn't just find Kyle Turner. They'd find her silence. At Harper's Diner, the new morning crowd whispered over coffee. A group of teenagers replayed the slap on their phones, laughing at Kyle's stunned face. At another table, two older men muttered about outsiders ruining everything. The diner wasn't neutral ground anymore. It was a fault line. By 5 p.m., national media rolled into town. Satellite trucks clogged Main Street. Signs went up outside Harper's, "Justice for Henry." Others appeared on Facebook groups, "Stand with Kyle." That night, Dr. Laura Bennett addressed the first Unity Coalition meeting. Dozens packed into the church basement. Reporters stood along the walls. Bennett raised her voice so all could hear. This case is not just about one slap. It's about dignity. It's about whether a 72-year-old veteran can walk into a diner in his hometown and not be treated as less than human. This fight is bigger than Riverton, and we will not back down. Applause shook the room. Elena caught every second on her phone. The live stream peaked at 15,000 viewers. Across town, Kyle Turner sat alone. His lawyer had gone home. His friends weren't answering calls. His face was gray. He whispered to himself in the dark, "One slap. Just one slap, and it's all gone." But outside, in Riverton and beyond, it was no longer just one slap. It was the start of something much larger. By Thursday morning, Riverton no longer belonged to itself. Federal plates lined the curb outside the county courthouse. Men and women in dark suits walked with folders under their arms. Reporters trailed behind, shoving microphones into the air. The Department of Justice had arrived. Henry Collins watched from his porch as a pair of black SUVs turned down his street. David Collins had warned him this was coming. Civil Rights Division, David had said over the phone. Automatic review protocols. They'll want every angle of the footage, every witness statement. This isn't optional anymore. Henry stood straighter when the agents approached. The older of the two introduced herself. Agent Sarah Carter, Civil Rights Division, Department of Justice. She extended her hand. "Mr. Collins, thank you for your service. We'll be handling this matter going forward." Henry shook her hand, firm but quiet. "I just wanted coffee." Carter's expression hardened. "And now you're the center of a federal investigation." Inside Harper's diner, the cleanup had barely finished. Broken cups replaced, linoleum scrubbed, but the memory lingered. Agent Carter's team set up laptops at the corner booth. They pulled video feeds directly from the diner's security cloud. Elena Ramirez turned over her phone, handing them raw files. Mark Dawson offered memory cards from his camera. Every angle, every second, cataloged. It didn't take long for Carter to see the larger picture. Turner's words are explicit. "Your kind doesn't belong." That's not just assault. That's racial intimidation. It falls squarely under 18 U.S.C. Section 245. Federal jurisdiction is clear. Chief Anthony Vega exhaled, almost relieved. Finally, someone says it out loud. Sheriff Linda Cooper stood near the doorway, arms crossed. "With respect, Agent, Riverton can handle its own problems." Carter's eyes snapped to her. "Sheriff, your delay in handling an on-camera assault is already documented. You'll provide all reports of prior complaints by end of day." Cooper's jaw tightened. "What prior complaints?" "We'll find them," Carter said evenly. By afternoon, the scope widened. Files from the sheriff's office revealed more than the slap. Carter's analyst dug into 18 months of complaints. March 2024. Elderly Hispanic man accused of shoplifting. Clear by footage later, but banned from the store. January 2024. Black family questioned at the community center, told to leave during their son's basketball game. November 2023. Native American veteran challenged at a polling station. Required unnecessary ID, almost denied his vote. September 2023. Asian students reported as suspicious for studying at the library after hours. All dismissed as misunderstandings. All within Riverton. Carter spread the files across the table. This isn't random. This is systemic. Reporters caught wind fast. By evening news, headlines shifted. Riverton under federal civil rights review. Pattern of discrimination emerges. Mayor Richard Hale faced cameras outside City Hall. He tried to calm the storm. "We are a welcoming community. Any suggestion otherwise is exaggerated by outside influence." His wife Helen stood behind him, lips pressed tight, saying nothing. She knew better. At the Unity Church basement, Elena Ramirez live-streamed again. She read the DOJ findings out loud to hundreds of viewers. This isn't one man's bad temper. This is a system designed to humiliate people of color in Riverton. Applause filled the basement. Veterans in the crowd saluted Henry. Students held handmade signs. Dignity is not optional. On the other side of town, Kyle Turner sat in his dark living room, phone buzzing nonstop. Friends stopped answering. His lawyer told him federal agents would want an interview. His construction crew whispered about finding new work. Even allies in the council no longer returned his calls. He slammed his phone down, shouting into the empty room. It was just one slap, but even he didn't believe it anymore. That night, Agent Carter filed her first official report. Clear evidence of racially motivated assault. Established pattern of discriminatory practices in Riverton. Recommend escalation to federal prosecution. The next phase had begun. Riverton wasn't fighting over a diner incident anymore. It was under federal investigation. And the truth about the town was starting to pour out. The courthouse lights burned late. Inside Sheriff Linda Cooper's office, an email flashed across her screen. Control the narrative before it controls us. The mayor's words. She slammed the laptop shut and pulled the blinds. At Harper's Diner, a technician bent over the security system. Strange, he muttered. Every file from Tuesday morning had vanished. The hard drive was clean. He swore under his breath. Across the street, two men in suits from the DOJ already had copies on their laptops. Too late. Henry Collins opened his front door to find his trash scattered across the lawn. Spray paint dripped red across his garage door. Get out. He bent to pick up the pieces. His hands didn't shake, but his jaw clenched tight. The phone rang. Unknown number. A man's voice hissed through static. Your boy can't protect you forever. Accidents happen. Then the line went dead. At her apartment, Elena Ramirez stared at her phone. Hundreds of messages. Immigration can change fast. We know your schedule. Her hands trembled as she scrolled. Another ping. Her home address posted to a local forum. Mark Dawson's laptop screen went black. When it came back, his inbox was filled with racist memes. Professors wrote back demanding answers. His grades, his class schedule, everything was leaked. He pulled the plug from the wall and sat frozen in the dark. Inside Turner Construction, Kyle Turner leaned across the table, sweat soaking his collar. We hit them back. Sue them. Drown them in court. A councilman nodded. Defamation. Copyright. Harassment. Doesn't matter if we win. Just keep them busy, keep them broke. The lawyer drafted papers that afternoon. Elena received notice she was being sued for defamation. Mark for copyright. Even Chief Vega for interfering in Turner's business reputation. Dr. Laura Bennett flipped through the lawsuits at the Unity Coalition meeting. They're not trying to win, she said. They're trying to scare you. To bleed you dry until you quit. Elena spoke in her phone, live stream on. I won't quit. Her voice shook, but she didn't lower the camera. Silence is what let this happen. That night, Sheriff Cooper drove to Henry's house alone. No body camera. No deputies. She stood in his kitchen doorway. Henry, maybe it's time to let this go. People are nervous. Property values are tanking. Henry looked at her, the purple heart gleaming under the light. Because I got slapped? Because you made it public, she snapped, then softened. Think about the consequences. Henry's eyes didn't blink. I am. That's why I won't stop. Across town, in a motel room, two DOJ agents sat over laptops. A tip had come in. They forgot the cloud. One click, one password, and the diner's deleted footage reappeared. High definition. Untouched. Every second preserved. Whoever thought Riverton's truth was buried had just made their biggest mistake. The motel room smelled of stale coffee and old carpet. Two DOJ agents sat in front of open laptops. On the screen was the diner footage that Riverton thought was gone. High-definition video. Every word. Every shove. Every second. Someone had sent an anonymous tip with a login key. When they entered it, the files appeared in perfect condition. The agents knew what that meant. Someone inside Riverton had tried to wipe evidence, but they failed to erase the backups. A knock at the door. 3 short raps. Agent Sarah Carter opened it. A tall man in a worn army jacket stood outside, laptop bag slung over one shoulder. He had the posture of someone who had spent years in uniform. Marcus Lee, he said simply, cybersecurity consultant. Infantry before that. Heard you needed help. Carter looked him over. You're not on my list. I'm not here for you, Marcus replied. He stepped inside and spotted Henry Collins sitting in a corner chair. The two men locked eyes. One older, face lined with age, cardigan neat despite the bruise on his cheek. One younger, still carrying the weight of service. Marcus extended his hand. Henry stood and shook it. No words, just understanding. Marcus dropped his laptop bag on the desk and pulled out a machine covered in stickers from old deployments. Turner and his friends thought they were clever. Delete local files. Crash county servers. Spoof login attempts. But it's amateur work. They didn't touch the off-site cloud. They didn't wipe ghost files. I can pull everything they thought they buried. Within minutes, the screen filled with recovered folders. Emails. Chat logs. Spreadsheets. Marcus clicked the first thread. Private group chats between Riverton business leaders and city officials. Subject lines read, maintain community standards. Tourism concerns. The messages weren't jokes. They were instructions. Look here, Marcus said, scrolling. 3 days before the diner assault. Turner writes, Phase 1 working. 3 minority businesses closed this year. Property values stabilizing in target neighborhoods. Time to remind people who runs Riverton. The room went silent. Dr. Laura Bennett leaned closer to the screen. That's not a slip of the tongue. That's evidence of intent. He wasn't acting alone. He was executing a plan. Agent Carter nodded. That's conspiracy. Civil rights violations tied to economic intimidation. This goes way beyond one man's temper. Marcus opened another folder marked deleted. Dozens of files appeared. Text messages, unsent drafts, meeting notes. One stood out. Community, meeting tomorrow about the problem. Some folks need to learn respect. Sometimes lessons get physical. Henry's jaw tightened. They planned to make an example. Yes, Bennett answered. And they left the blueprint in writing. Meanwhile, across town, Mayor Richard Hale sat in his office on the phone. His voice carried sharp. We need calm. We need unity. This is getting out of control. On the other end, a contractor whispered, You can't unify this, Mayor. The evidence is everywhere. Hale slammed the receiver down. He didn't know his wife Helen had already copied months of his emails. That same night, she walked into the Unity Coalition meeting and handed a flash drive to Dr. Bennett. Her voice shook but was clear. He knew. He told me to stay quiet. I can't protect him anymore. Back in the motel room, Marcus kept typing. His fingers moved fast, calling up banking records, donations, payment trails. Follow the money, he muttered. Turner gave $5,000 to the Riverton Development Fund. That fund lobbied for more security cameras in minority neighborhoods. 3 businesses closed within 6 months after surveillance harassment. Carter jotted notes. We'll need affidavits. Witness statements. Financial experts. Bennett looked at Henry. This isn't just your fight anymore. It's a full-scale civil rights case. Henry sat quiet, hands folded in his lap. The bruise on his cheek looked darker under the lamp. He finally spoke. I told Sheriff Cooper I wasn't backing down. Now I know why. Because if I quit, they win. Marcus closed his laptop. They won't win. They left a digital trail a mile wide. They were arrogant. Thought no one would check. Carter stood. Tomorrow we take this to federal court. I want sworn statements from every witness. I want full copies of every video. And I want the press to know that Riverton is under formal civil rights investigation. The agents packed their files. Marcus stayed behind with Henry. Henry asked him quietly, Why come here? You don't owe me anything. Marcus tapped the patch zone on his jacket sleeve. Because veterans don't let each other stand alone. Not in combat. Not at home. Henry nodded slowly. Then let's finish this. Across Riverton, word spread fast. Text chains buzzed. Facebook groups lit up. Rumors of federal charges reached City Hall. Business leaders whispered about pulling investments. A bank teller leaked documents showing Turner's loan applications flagged undesirable demographics. Turner himself sat in his living room, blinds drawn, phone buzzing nonstop. His lawyer tried to reassure him. We'll say it was one bad moment. People overreacted. Turner shook his head. They found something, didn't they? I can feel it. He was right. By morning, the front page of every regional paper would print the same headline. Leaked emails show racist conspiracy in Riverton. The slap had been the spark. The evidence Marcus Lee pulled from the digital shadows was the explosion. Riverton was about to face a reckoning. The morning started with banging on Elena Ramirez's apartment door. She froze, phone in her hand. 3 hard knocks, then silence. When she opened it, no one was there. Just a flyer slipped under the mat. Go back where you came from. At the same hour, Henry Collins found his mailbox smashed. The flag bent with splintered. Spray paint again across the fence. Out. His neighbor watched from the porch, but said nothing. Mark Dawson walked into class at Riverton College to whispers. His professor pulled him aside. Your emails, violent threats, racist memes. Did you send these? No, Mark said firmly. My account was hacked. The professor sighed. The dean wants a hearing. Until then, you're suspended. Mark stared blankly. The setup was working. At City Hall, Mayor Richard Hale gathered allies. The DOJ is moving fast. We have to push back. This town depends on stability. A councilman answered. Then we smear them. Make Collins look unstable. Question Ramirez's immigration status. Paint Dawson as a radical. If the witnesses collapse, the case collapses. Turner leaned forward, voice sharp. And if that fails, we choke them with lawsuits. Keep them in court until they drown. By noon, 3 more civil suits landed. Elena received notice of workplace misconduct. Mark was accused of academic dishonesty. Even Dr. Bennett was targeted, claimed to be inciting unrest. She read the filings at the Unity Coalition meeting. All baseless, all meant to intimidate. Her tone was flat. But we'll fight everyone. Chief Vega stood at the back, arms crossed. They're escalating. Someone needs to protect Ramirez and Dawson. Their kids compared to the people they're up against. Bennett nodded. Federal protection requests are already filed. Until then, we watch each other's backs. That night, Elena went live again. Her voice shook, but she didn't hide. They can sue me. They can threaten me. I'm not deleting the truth. Viewers flooded the comments. Stay strong. We're with you. Don't let them win. Henry sat in his kitchen with Marcus Lee and 2 agents. He rubbed his temple. I'm bringing trouble on everyone. Marcus shook his head. You didn't bring this. They did. You just refused to stay silent. Henry looked at his purple heart lying on the table. His voice was low. When I was young, bullies wore uniforms on the other side. Now they wear suits and ties in my own town. Meanwhile, a smear campaign spread online. Fake posts claimed Henry had provoked Turner. Anonymous accounts said Elena lied about what happened. A local radio host repeated, this was just 2 men arguing. Outsiders are turning it into a circus. But the smear only spread the story further. Screenshots went viral. Hashtags doubled. Hashtag Justice for Henry trended alongside hashtag Unity in Riverton. At Turner Construction, Kyle paced his office. It's slipping away. No one returns my calls. Investors are pulling out. His lawyer muttered, we need leverage. Witness intimidation works. Keep the pressure high. Maybe Collins folds before trial. Kyle's phone buzzed. Another text from an unknown number. We handle the mailbox. Next target? He stared at it, hand trembling, then deleted the message. At the sheriff's office, deputies whispered about Cooper's meetings with Hale. One deputy leaked a memo to Agent Carter. The file showed 12 complaints marked, resolved, with no action. Carter held it up during briefing. They weren't just looking away. They were burying evidence. Bennett added, that makes the sheriff part of the conspiracy. The room fell silent. By midnight, threats escalated. Henry's phone rang again. This time the voice was younger, sharper. Stop your son before we stop you. Riverton doesn't need outsiders running the show. Henry hung up, stared at the wall, then dialed David. His son's voice answered immediately. Dad, Henry said only one sentence. They want me scared. David's reply was firm. Then we make them regret it. The next morning, federal SUVs lined Main Street. Agents stepped out, visible this time. They weren't hiding anymore. Riverton had crossed from harassment into open intimidation, and the response would be federal, not local. The evidence folder filled the table at the DOJ staging house. Agent Sarah Carter pushed a stack of printouts across to Dr. Laura Bennett and Marcus Lee. "Everything we need is here," she said. "Video timestamps, email trails, banking transfers, pattern reports, witness lists." She tapped a highlighted line. Turner's email on March 12th. Phase 1 working. That ties motive to action. Bennett flipped pages fast, eyes moving like a typewriter. Chain of custody on the diner footage is verified. Elena's live stream has metadata intact. Mark's files have original camera timestamps. The cloud backups match. We can subpoena every local server and every phone. Marcus scrolled through bank ledgers on his laptop. "Look at these transfers." Turner paid the Riverton Development Fund $5,000. The fund moved money to consultants who then pushed for increased safety measures in target blocks. It's a breadcrumb trail straight to economic intent. Carter nodded. "We'll need financial forensics experts. We'll need witness affidavits signed tomorrow. And we need to get ahead of the narrative. National networks are already calling. We present facts, not opinions." Across town, the Unity Coalition met to prepare witnesses. Elena sat at the head of the table, hands steady. She read from a printed statement that Dr. Bennett had helped refine. "My name is Elena Ramirez. I am a waitress at Harper's Diner. I recorded the assault because I feared what might happen if no one did. I recorded because Mr. Collins deserved to be seen and heard." She looked up. "I will sign any affidavit required." Veterans in the room nodded. Chief Anthony Vega stood behind them, wearing plain clothes. "I will testify about past incidents I reported informally and the times I saw harassment escalate. I will provide those notes." Old men who had previously stayed silent came forward with short 2-line statements. "I saw them humiliate the Gonzalez family in January. They followed the Ortiz kids out of the community center." Each statement was cold and factual. No flinching. Dr. Bennett set expectations. Court works on proof. Testimony must be factual. Dates, names, documents. No rhetoric. We write statements that survive depositions and cross-examination. Mark Dawson was there, quieter than usual. He handed over a hard drive to Marcus. "Everything I shot since January. Interviews. Raw clips. If they try to claim I edited anything, here's the original." He breathed once. "I'm ready to testify." Outside, the media machine spun. A regional anchor called the DOJ press liaison. "What's the timeline for charges?" she asked. The liaison replied with a neutral line. "Investigation ongoing. We are reviewing evidence of potential civil rights violations." The networks ran it with footage of the diner and a headline. "Small town, big case." Social feeds fed frenzy. Clips from Elena's live stream looped with captions. "Veteran slapped for being out of place." Links to Marcus recovered documents trended. Hashtags multiplied. Hashtag Riverton under investigation. Hashtag Justice for Henry. Influencers reposted. Veterans groups tweeted solidarity. A conservative talk host called it a setup. A civil rights panel on cable called it systemic cleansing. The town listened. Mayor Richard Hale called an emergency meeting with local business owners and the chamber. "We need a plan for the town meeting," he said. "We must make a show of unity, calm, and local control." He didn't use the word spin, but everyone heard it. "Let federal agents do their job," one owner said. "But we can't have an armed mob outside City Hall." A volunteer from a Unity Coalition, hands steady, announced logistics. "We will marshal witnesses. We will station legal monitors. We will provide witness escorts to protect against threats and harassment. We will have media volunteers to live stream the hearing. Everyone who testifies will do it publicly unless they request protection." That night, the local police posted a town meeting notice. "Public Forum Friday, 7 p.m., Riverton Community Center. All sides invited." The post included the standard line about civility. The comment thread ignited within minutes. Invitations to counter-protests circulated. Calls for peaceful resolution mixed with threats of disruption. Federal agents read the thread and logged potential risks. Agent Carter called Sheriff Linda Cooper. We will have agents present. We will not allow intimidation. We will document any attempt at retaliation. Ensure witnesses can get to the community center. Cooper's response was measured. We'll provide escorts. But the town expects normalcy. We don't want martial law optics in a small Midwestern town. Her words were careful. Inside her office, she reviewed the old complaint files Marcus had recovered. She had to answer for what was missing. David Collins landed at the small airport with a quiet security detail. He walked into the staging house and sat across from his father. Henry looked smaller in the doorway, but his eyes were steady. David's voice was low. "How are you holding up?" he asked. Henry shrugged. "My cheek stings. My head's clear." He tapped the purple heart at his collar. "I told you what would happen if I stayed quiet." He looked at his son. "Don't let this be about me. Make sure it changes things." David took his father's hand. "We'll do this right. No shortcuts. Full transparency. We'll make sure every witness is protected." He pulled out a phone and sent a message to his legal counsel. Confirm DOJ motion for witness protection and expedited subpoenas. The next day, Dr. Bennett filed a preemptive complaint requesting civil oversight and immediate preservation orders for all municipal servers and records. The filing referenced specific statutes, case law, and cited the recovered emails as probable cause for broader discovery. Marcus supplied a compact forensic report attached as an exhibit. Bennett's motion read clean and clinical. It asked the court to compel full document production and to issue temporary restraining orders against further destruction of evidence. It asked the U.S. Attorney to consider civil rights charges under Title 18, Section 245, and conspiracy charges where applicable. The filing landed on the U.S. Attorney's desk. An assistant read it and pushed it forward. The prosecutor circled lines on the email exhibits. Phase 1 working. He looked up at Agent Carter. "We have enough to open a criminal probe." By the time the town hall arrived, the courthouse steps were lined with vans. The community center filled beyond capacity. Rows of folding chairs creaked under the weight of residents, veterans, reporters, and federal agents. A live stream camera banked on the stage. Lawyers and activists sat shoulder to shoulder. Inside the hall, voices rose in a low hum. Some carried printed flyers defending Turner as a local employer. Others held handmade signs. "Respect our elders. Riverton chooses justice." The moderator read rules. Speaker signed in. Tension tightened like a pulled wire. When Elena took the microphone, she did not waver. "I recorded what happened because I was scared and because I wanted someone to see the truth," she said. "I'm not here to ruin anyone, but I will not be silenced." Her statement was short and factual. Cameras recorded everything. Chief Vega walked to the podium next. "I have documented incidents. They were dismissed. I'm here to correct that record." He named dates, times, and locations. Each detail matched documents already in the DOJ folder. Mayor Hale spoke last. He called for unity and calm. He proposed a reconciliation task force and promised a review of all complaints. The crowd reacted with mixed shouts. Some cheered, others booed. The room split in noise. Outside, in the parking lot, lines of locals argued. TV crews captured faces. Online, streams spiked. The town had no private life left. When the meeting closed, Agent Carter approached Dr. Bennett. "We'll move on witness protection tomorrow," she said. "We'll subpoena the development fund records. Expect indictments soon." Bennett nodded. "We'll be ready." Henry walked out into the cool night and leaned against his truck. He felt the ache in his cheek. He felt the weight of attention. He also felt a small, steady thing. People were telling the truth now. The town was on trial. The trial had started with one slap and had become everyone's reckoning. He looked up at the neon sign of Harper's Diner across the street. It blinked once, then again. The community center was full to the rafters. Folding chairs lined every row. People stood against the walls. A live camera banked on the stage. A dozen reporters circled the perimeter. Federal agents sat in the front row, notebook pads open. The air smelled of coffee and tension. The moderator tapped the microphone. "Order. Tonight's forum will be recorded. Each speaker has 3 minutes. No interruptions. Public comments first, then officials. Elena Ramirez was first. She walked to the mic without hesitation. Her hands were steady. My name is Elena Ramirez. I recorded an assault on Henry Collins. I turned my phone on because someone had to see it. She held out her phone. This is the footage I captured. I will submit this to the record. She spoke 2 short sentences more. Then she stepped down as the room clapped. Dr. Laura Bennett walked to the podium with a manila folder. I will present evidence directly to the public and request it be entered into the record, she said. She did not explain. She opened the folder and pushed a tablet to the moderator. Marcus Lee keyed it. The main projector lit the wall. A chain of emails scrolled in plain text, timestamps visible. Marcus pointed with a laser. Kyle Turner wrote this on March 12th, Marcus said. Phase 1 working. 3 minority businesses closed. Time to remind people who runs Riverton. The room read the words in silence. A murmur spread. Someone shouted, "He wrote that? He said that." Dr. Bennett didn't look up. She pulled another document forward and read the header into the microphone. Mayor Richard Hale texted with council members about handling the optics 2 hours after the assault. We have bank transfers from Turner to the Riverton Development Fund and minutes from a closed meeting recommending increased patrols in targeted blocks. A man in a suit at the back stood. That's out of context, he barked. You can't take one email. Dr. Bennett cut him off. Emails, bank records, time-stamped videos, originals on secure servers. We will provide certified copies to anyone who requests them. This is evidence. Agent Sarah Carter stepped up then, calm and precise. The Department of Justice has reviewed preliminary materials and cataloged probable cause for civil rights violations and conspiracy. We have taken temporary preservation orders on municipal servers. We will subpoena additional records. We will protect witnesses. Her voice was measured. It carried. A cluster of Kyle Turner supporters in the back stood and hollered. This is a witch hunt. A few held signs. Turner builds our town. Kyle made his way to the stage with his lawyer before anyone could stop him. He took the microphone and aimed a shaky smile at the crowd. I'm a man who hires people. I build houses. This is blown out of proportion. It was a misunderstanding. He paused. I never. Dr. Bennett stood, tablet raised. She tapped play. The room filled with a low, recorded voice. It was Kyle on a private call, the exact moment Marcus recovered that morning. Phase 1 working, the voice said. Time to remind people who runs Riverton. Kyle's lawyer lunged for the tablet. You can't. The moderator pounded the gavel. Federal agents in the front rose as one. Agent Carter moved forward. Badge flashed silently. Mr. Turner, please step down from the stage. You are not under arrest at this moment, but you are requested to accompany agents for questioning regarding these documents. She spoke quietly, direct. Turner's face went white. You can't detain me here. I'm a citizen. You are requested to come with us, Carter repeated. 2 plainclothes agents extended their hands. Turner hesitated, looked to his allies, then stepped off the stage. Someone shouted, "Shame." Others shot him dirty looks. Agents walked him through a side door. Cameras followed. The room fractured into shouted accusations. Some lectured about due process. Others chanted accountability. A woman fainted. Medics wheeled her out. The moderator tried to restore order. He cannot. Then Dr. Bennett did something surgical. She played a second recording, this one from Mrs. Helen Hale. The audio was short. Mayor Hale's voice, recorded in private, instructing officials to minimize and mask and to discourage public complaints that could hurt tourism. The room listened as the mayor's instructions played, then the sound of a man's response in hushed tones. Mayor Hale, standing near the podium, went pale. He had no prepared remarks. People began shouting for his resignation. He raised his hands. That audio is edited. Marcus turned the screen to show unedited file headers. This is an original file with full metadata, he said. We recovered it in a forensic archive. We have a chain of custody. A chorus of voices demanded action. Sheriff Linda Cooper stepped to the microphone with a deputy at her side. We will cooperate with federal investigators. We are reviewing these documents. I asked for calm. Her voice wavered. The crowd booed. Helen Hale walked to the center aisle, a flash drive in hand. She climbed the steps to the stage and faced the town she had defended for years. I recorded those conversations, she said plainly. I was wrong to cover for him. I can't do it anymore. She handed the flash drive to Dr. Bennett. Someone screamed, "Resign!" Mayor Hale's mouth opened and closed. He looked around, searching for political cover. None came. "I will cooperate," he said finally in a weak voice. "I will step aside until this is cleared." Hands clapped, some applauded, others booed louder. Outside, the parking lot filled with gathered residents arguing across picket lines. National news pushed rolling updates. Local Facebook threads exploded into threads of raw audio, screenshots, and legal filings. The town's phone lines were saturated. Inside the hall, Agent Carter made an announcement. "We will be executing subpoenas for town records. We will provide witness escorts. We will refer any criminal conduct discovered to the U.S. Attorney. We expect full cooperation from Sheriff's Office and City Hall." Chief Anthony Vega walked to the mic and read aloud a sworn statement. "I reported incidents informally. They were not investigated fully. I will submit formal affidavits." He looked directly at Sheriff Cooper as he spoke. The sheriff's jaw tightened. At the end of the night, the moderator closed the meeting, but the closure felt like a hinge swinging open. People filed out slowly, conversations urgent, angry, relieved. Agents escorted witnesses to waiting vehicles. A line of reporters followed Mayor Hale into a small office. Kyle Turner was seen under guard being led to a federal vehicle. Henry Collins left last. He stood outside under the community center's porch light and watched the traffic. The bruise on his cheek pulsed faintly. Phones buzzed with messages of support. People came up and shook his hand, some with tears. He said nothing at first. Then an old man from the crowd touched his shoulder and said, "You did right." Henry nodded. David Collins met his father at the curb. "You okay?" he asked. Henry looked at his son and then back at the town. "I'll be fine," he said. "It wasn't about me. It was always about everyone who got pushed out." A reporter shouted one last question across the parking lot. "Will there be indictments?" Agent Carter's SUV door closed. From inside, she said, "We're pursuing this fully. Expect charges where warranted." The town's neon signs glowed in the wet pavement. The cameras turned away, but the microphones kept recording. The town meeting had not delivered a final verdict. It had delivered something louder, public truth. That truth had teeth now. The next moves would be legal, slow, and precise. But the stage for accountability was set. The subpoenas hit Riverton before sunrise. Federal marshals drove through town in black SUVs, knocking on doors with stamped envelopes in hand. Business owners who once whispered in private now held papers demanding testimony under oath. At Harper's Diner, Elena Ramirez received her notice at 6:45 a.m. She read the header aloud. United States District Court, Eastern District. She folded it carefully and put it in her apron pocket before pouring coffee for her first customer. Her hands didn't shake. Mark Dawson opened his dorm door to find two marshals waiting. "Mr. Dawson," one said, "you are required to appear in court next week. Your video files are being entered into evidence. We'll arrange secure transfer." Mark handed over his hard drive. "Keep the originals," the marshal instructed. "Chain of custody starts now." Henry Collins answered his own door. A marshal read the order with respect. "Mr. Collins, you will testify under oath regarding the events of April 17th. Your testimony is central to the case. You will be escorted to court when called." Henry nodded once. "I'll be there." At Turner Construction, Kyle Turner shouted into his phone, "You told me we had time." His lawyer whispered back, "We can file for delays. Jurisdiction challenges. Motion after motion. We drag this out until momentum dies." Kyle slammed the desk. "Do it. I don't care what it costs." Mayor Hale sat with his attorney in City Hall. "These subpoenas are political," he insisted. His lawyer shook his head. "They're federal. You'll testify under penalty of perjury. Perjury carries prison time." Hale wiped sweat from his forehead. Dr. Laura Bennett met with the Unity Coalition that afternoon. She spread copies of subpoenas on the table. "This is real. This isn't social media. This is federal court. The strategy now is discipline. No exaggeration. No speculation. Every witness sticks to facts. She looked at Elena. What you saw, what you recorded. Nothing more. She turned to Chief Vega. Dates, incidents you reported, what happened to those reports. Finally, she faced Henry. What he said, what he did, how it affected you. No speeches, just facts. Marcus Lee connected his laptop to the projector. I've compiled a forensic timeline. Every email, every transfer, every deleted file. It's all verified, metadata intact. DOJ will enter this as exhibits. The defense can scream about context, but they can't change the math. Across town, Kyle's defense team drafted motions. Motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction. Motion to exclude video evidence. Motion to seal witness identities. The filing stacked high, each designed to stall. But DOJ prosecutors anticipated it. Assistant U.S. Attorney Claire Jennings stood in her office in Chicago, flipping through Turner's emails. She circled one line. Some folks need to learn respect. Sometimes lessons get physical. She underlined it twice. That's not bluster. That's intent. She briefed her team. Our indictment will allege civil rights violations under Title 18, Section 245, conspiracy to deprive equal protection, and obstruction of justice for evidence tampering. We'll seek to add racketeering if the financial links hold. Reporters circled like sharks. National networks aired primetime specials titled Riverton's Reckoning. Veteran groups released statements of support for Henry Collins. Civil rights leaders promised to attend the hearings. Riverton's population doubled overnight as satellite trucks parked on Main Street. Sheriff Linda Cooper faced her own subpoena. She tried to smile at the press. I have always cooperated with investigations. Inside her office, she shredded old notes, sweat dripping. She didn't know Marcus had already recovered the digital backups. Elena's phone buzzed that night. A text from an unknown number. Court can be dangerous. Accidents happen. Stay quiet. She screenshot it and sent it to Dr. Bennett, who forwarded it to federal agents. By midnight, 2 marshals stood outside her apartment door. Henry sat at his kitchen table, purple heart pinned to his cardigan, subpoena on the counter. His son David sat across from him, reading line by line. Dad, they'll try to make you stumble. They'll call you confused, old, bitter. Just answer clean. Don't let them bait you. Henry sipped black coffee. I've faced worse crossfire than a lawyer. The date for the first federal hearing was posted on courthouse doors. United States versus Kyle Turner et al. The town buzzed with rumors. Supporters of Turner promised buses to protest federal overreach. Unity Coalition volunteers organized carpools for witnesses. Social media filled with countdown clocks and hashtags. Hashtag Riverton in court. The courthouse itself prepared. Security barriers were installed. Courtrooms wired for overflow livestream. Metal detectors doubled at the entrance. Assistant U.S. Attorney Jennings reviewed her opening. This case is not about one slap, she rehearsed. This case is about a coordinated effort to intimidate and exclude citizens from equal participation. The assault was not random. It was policy and practice. Turner's lawyer practiced his own. This is about political ambition, about outsiders turning a misunderstanding into a national circus. My client regrets harsh words but denies intent. The stage was set. Riverton's fight had left the diner. It had left the town hall. It was now in federal court, under oath, with gavel in hand. For Henry Collins, it meant one more battle. He folded the subpoena and placed it in his wallet next to his flag pin. I'll be there, he whispered. The trial of Riverton had officially begun. The courtroom was packed before 9 a.m. Wooden benches creaked under the weight of residents, reporters, and veterans in press jackets. A row of cameras pointed toward the steps outside. Inside, no recording was allowed. Only pens scratched against notepads. Judge Eleanor Harding entered briskly. She was mid-60s, stern, hair pulled tight. This court is now in session. United States versus Kyle Turner et al. The gavel struck once. Silence fell. Assistant U.S. Attorney Claire Jennings stood first. Her voice was clear. Your Honor, This case concerns a deliberate assault and an organized effort to deprive citizens of their rights. We will show video evidence, digital correspondence, and sworn testimony proving intent and coordination. This is not about one argument. It is about systematic intimidation. Turner's defense attorney, Robert Mills, rose. He adjusted his tie. Your Honor, the government is trying to turn a small-town dispute into a federal circus. My client admits there was a confrontation, but it was provoked and exaggerated. The videos are incomplete. The emails are taken out of context. We will show this is a misunderstanding, not a conspiracy. The judge nodded once. Proceed with the first witness. Elena Ramirez was called. She walked to the stand, placed her hand on the Bible, and swore the oath. Jennings approached. Ms. Ramirez, where do you work? At Harper's Diner, Riverton. Were you present on April 17th? Yes. What did you witness? Elena looked at the jury. I saw Kyle Turner shove Mr. Collins. I saw him slap him. I heard his words. I recorded them. Jennings held up a tablet. Is this the video you recorded? Yes. The clip played on courtroom screens. The sound of Turner's voice filled the chamber. This ain't your place, old man. The slap cracked loud. Jurors flinched. Turner stared at the table. Defense rose quickly. Ms. Ramirez, you dislike Mr. Turner, don't you? I served him coffee for 2 years. I didn't like how he spoke to customers. But that doesn't change what he did. You only started recording when voices were raised. Isn't it true you missed the beginning? Yes, but I recorded what mattered. The defense sat down, unsatisfied. Next, Mark Dawson took the stand. His hard drives had been logged as evidence. I was filming a class project. I captured Turner approaching Collins. I submitted the raw footage. Nothing was edited. Jennings showed the jury timestamps, metadata, storage logs. The chain of custody was airtight. Defense tried again. Mr. Dawson, you posted your footage online, correct? Yes. So you benefited from the attention. Views, followers, recognition. Mark answered evenly. I didn't benefit. I got suspended. I got harassed. But I didn't lie. The prosecution called Chief Anthony Vega next. He wore his uniform, medals pinned. I saw Turner shove Mr. Collins. I tried to intervene. I also saw months of harassment in this town. I filed notes. They were ignored. Jennings placed the recovered complaint reports on the screen. Chief Vega, are these your notes? Yes. Were they investigated? No. By whom? The sheriff's office under Linda Cooper. The courtroom murmured. Cooper shifted uncomfortably in her seat at the back. Then came Marcus Lee. He connected his laptop and displayed recovered emails. This file was deleted from Turner's server, but preserved in Cloud Sync. Metadata proves authenticity. It reads, Phase 1 working. 3 minority businesses closed. Time to remind people who runs Riverton. Jurors read the words in silence. Defense objected. Speculation. This could be about market competition, not race. Jennings countered. Next line, Your Honor. Marcus scrolled. Some folks need to learn respect. Sometimes lessons get physical. The objection died. Finally, Henry Collins was called. The room rose as the elderly veteran made his way slowly to the stand. His cardigan was pressed. The flag pin gleamed. He swore the oath and sat. Jennings stood close but gentle. Mr. Collins, tell the jury what happened. Henry's voice was steady. I ordered coffee. I counted my change. Kyle Turner came across the diner. He told me I didn't belong. He shoved me. He slapped me. I didn't fight back. I called my son. Jennings asked, Why call your son? Because he needed to hear it before the news did. My son serves this country. He protects it. I wanted him to know his father wasn't afraid. Silence filled the courtroom. Defense tried to shake him. Mr. Collins, are you sure you remember clearly? You're 72. Henry leaned forward. I remember the sound of his ring against my cheek. I remember every word. Age doesn't make me blind. Service doesn't make me forget. A juror wiped her eyes. Judge Harding looked over the bench. Court will recess until tomorrow. Witnesses will return for cross-examination. Jury is instructed not to discuss the case. The gavel struck. Reporters bolted for the doors. Turner slumped into his chair, his lawyer whispering furiously. Jennings stacked her files, calm and methodical. Henry Collins walked out with Marcus at his side, slow but upright. Outside, cameras flashed. Shouts rang. But the story was already written in the evidence shown inside. Riverton's reckoning was no longer local. It was federal, sworn under oath, with a gavel waiting at the end.